What if the one food you've been trusting every morning to keep you healthy is quietly doing the opposite? You're standing in that supermarket aisle. The fridge is full of colorful tubs. The labels say things like natural, Greek-style, live cultures, low fat. And you pick one because it looks clean, it looks honest, and it looks like food. But here's the truth nobody in that aisle is telling you. A lot of what is sold as yogurt in UK supermarkets right now is not actually yogurt, not in any real sense. It's a manufactured dairy product engineered in a factory to look and feel like yogurt while costing as little as possible to produce. And the gap between what's on the label and what's in the pot is wider than most people ever get to find out. If your gut just told you something was off, listen to it. Hit like right now and subscribe before this video disappears from your feed. And if you know someone who buys yogurt every week thinking it's a healthy choice, share this with them. It takes 3 seconds and it might genuinely change how they eat. Today we are going through 11 yogurt products currently sitting in UK supermarket fridges that you need to know about. And then we are going to flip this around entirely and give you the products that are actually worth buying. Before we get into the list, you need to understand what real yogurt actually is. Because once you know, you will never be fooled again. Proper yogurt has 2 ingredients: milk and bacteria. That is it. You warm the milk to a specific temperature, you introduce live cultures, and you let the bacteria ferment the lactose for anywhere between 8 and 36 hours depending on the style. The longer it ferments, the more developed the flavor, the more beneficial compounds the bacteria produce, and the more alive and active those cultures are when you eat it. That process is simple, it is also slow, and slow costs money in a factory setting. So what the big producers figured out long ago is that you can shortcut almost every step if consumers do not know what they are looking for. You can reconstitute dried milk powder instead of using fresh milk. You can add cream to fake richness. You can use modified starch to create thickness instead of actually straining the yogurt. You can add sugar to cover the flat taste of something that was never properly fermented. And you can flash pasteurize the whole thing after fermentation, which kills every single live culture in the pot, but extends shelf life dramatically. The result looks like yogurt. It has the texture of yogurt. It even tastes vaguely like yogurt if you have never had the real thing. But it is a completely different product, and millions of people in Britain are buying it every single week without knowing any of this. There is also something else you need to know before we start. In late 2024, a major UK dairy cooperative called Arla Foods, which supplies milk to Tesco, Morrisons and Aldi among others, announced a trial of a feed supplement called Bova on 30 UK farms. The supplement is designed to reduce methane emissions from cows by stopping them from producing as much during digestion. Arla framed it as an environmental initiative. The public reaction was intense. The story went viral across social media. The trial ran through to November 2025, and Arla has confirmed they are reviewing results, but have not ruled out expanding the program. Here is what matters to you as a consumer. Any yogurt made from milk produced by cows on those 30 farms during the trial period may contain milk from bovine-fed animals. The Food Standards Agency says it is safe, but in Denmark, some farmers raised concerns about what they were observing in their herds. And consumers were never given any transparencies about which products were affected or which weren't. Organic yogurt, however, is a different story. Bovaer is not permitted under Soil Association organic standards, so any certified organic yogurt cannot come from cows that were given this supplement. That matters, and we will come back to it when we get to the good list. For now, let us get into the brands you should avoid, starting at number 11. Tesco Natural Yogurt. If you want a perfect example of how the yogurt industry has been fooling people, this is it. Look at the ingredients. Whole milk yogurt base. Notice that word, base. It sounds like a starting point, not a finished product. And when you look at what makes up that base, everything becomes clear. Milk, fine. But then skim milk concentrate, dried skim milk, water, whipping cream, starter culture. This is not a food someone made. This is a product someone assembled. They took whole milk, stripped out the fat, spray-dried it into powder, then reconstituted it with water to get back to something approximating milk. Then they added whipping cream to give it richness, because the reconstituted powder on its own tastes flat. Then they added some starter cultures and called it yogurt. The reason this matters is not just philosophical. When you reconstitute dried milk powder, you change its structure. The proteins behave differently. The fat is not evenly distributed the way it is in fresh milk. And when you then add cultures to something that was never fresh milk to begin with, the fermentation is not the same. The bacteria have a different environment to work in. The resulting product is not nutritionally or texturally equivalent to yogurt made from real fresh milk. And here is the part that should genuinely make you angry. Right next to Tesco's own brand product on the same shelf, you can find smaller brands making yogurt from real, whole, fresh milk with nothing added, sometimes for basically the same price. The biggest supermarket chain in the United Kingdom is selling engineered powder slop for the same money as a small British dairy selling the real thing. Not because they have to, because most customers never read the back of the pot. Number 10. Müller Little Stars Bio Greek Style. This one looks like a straightforward, respectable product. Clean branding, simple design. It sits in the Greek style section and the texture feels convincing when you open it. The spoon sinks in and holds its shape. That usually signals quality. Except the thickness here is not a sign of quality at all. It is a trick. Real Greek yogurt is thick because it has been strained. You ferment a large volume of milk, and then you remove the liquid whey by passing it through cloth or a fine mesh. What is left behind is concentrated. The proteins are denser. The fat content relative to volume is higher. And because of that concentration, real Greek yogurt has around 10 grams of protein per 100 grams. This product has around 5, half what it should be, and it has 12.5 grams of fat per 100 grams. Compare that to a properly strained Greek yogurt at around 5 grams of fat, and you start to understand what is happening. They are not making it thick by straining out the whey. They are making it thick by dumping cream into regular yogurt. That is the trick. Cream is cheap. Straining takes equipment, time, and skill. So instead of going through the genuine process, they just add fat to create the mouthfeel of something rich and thick, while the protein level stays low because the milk was never actually concentrated. You are buying something sold on the health reputation of Greek yogurt. You are paying for the protein content and the genuine fermentation that reputation implies. And you are getting a cream-inflated regular yogurt instead. Number 9. Sainsbury's low-fat natural yogurt. Here we move into the budget section of the supermarket and into one of the most persistent myths in British food culture. The idea that low-fat equals healthy. When you remove fat from yogurt, two things happen. First, you lose the primary vehicle for flavor. Fat carries taste. Without it, the yogurt tastes thin, sour, and unpleasant. Second, you lose a huge amount of the texture. Fat creates that smooth, creamy mouthfeel. Without it, the yogurt is watery and flat. Manufacturers have two ways to fix this. They can ferment for a very long time, which develops complex flavor compounds that compensate for the missing fat. Or they can add stuff. Modified starch to replace the texture. Dried milk powder to bump up the numbers. Sugar or sweeteners to cover the sourness. Stabilizers to keep everything from separating. Guess which approach costs less? This Sainsbury's Basics product hits a price point. That is its entire design brief. It is not trying to be good. It is trying to be cheap enough that nobody complains. And people do not complain, partly because they see low fat on the front, and their brain immediately files it under healthy choice. The low-fat label is doing enormous lifting here. It is a distraction. It tells your brain the important information has already been processed and the product has passed. So you do not read further. And the manufacturer is counting on exactly that. Number 8. M&S 0% fat Greek style with honey. This one is particularly frustrating because it comes from a supermarket that's built its entire brand identity around premium quality. Marks & Spencer positions itself as the place you go when you want better. You pay more, but you trust that what you are getting is genuinely superior. You do not have to read the label because M&S already did the quality check for you. Except here are the ingredients of this product. 0% fat yogurt base, honey, brown sugar, corn flour, the same thing you use to thicken a sauce or a gravy. They have taken watery zero-fat yogurt, added corn flour to stop it feeling like water in your mouth, drizzled in some honey for sweetness, then added brown sugar on top of that because the honey alone apparently was not sweet enough. The result has 13.3 grams of sugar per 100 grams. This is a dessert, it is not a breakfast food, and it is not a health choice. It is sugar and starch dressed up in premium packaging and sold at a premium price, shelved right next to genuinely good yogurt in the same M&S fridge. And that is the important detail. M&S sizzle authentic Greek yogurt made in Greece with proper ingredients and proper protein content. They know how to source real food. They choose to also sell this because some customers will buy it without ever looking at the label. The M&S's name is doing all the work, and they know it. Number 7. Asda Justicial's low-fat natural yogurt. This is the budget range, the rock-bottom tier. The product that exists for people who genuinely cannot stretch their food budget any further. And that is exactly why this entry is the most uncomfortable to write. When you are selling to people who have no financial alternative, there is something particularly cynical about engineering the cheapest possible version of a product rather than making something that at least resembles the real thing. The problems are the same as the Sainsbury's Basics version, but potentially more extreme. Modified starch, guar gum or locust bean gum as thickeners, minimal fermentation time. And here is the part about bacteria that most people never think about. Yogurt bacteria need to eat. They feed on the lactose in the milk. In a properly fermented product with fresh milk and sufficient time, the bacteria multiply and colonize the yogurt thoroughly. But when you add thickeners and modified starch, you are changing the food environment those bacteria live in. And when you reduce fermentation time to cut costs, the cultures never become properly established. By the time you buy this product off the shelf, 3 weeks after it was made, those bacteria may be completely dead. Not dormant, dead. Starved in a product that was never a good home for them to begin with. You are not eating a probiotic food. You are eating a dairy product that was briefly in the same building as some bacteria. That is not the same thing. Number 6. Yoplait flavored 0% fat range. Strawberry, mango, peach, vanilla. The flavored yogurt section is where this industry earns a lot of its money. It looks appealing. The packaging is bright and cheerful. The flavors are familiar and comforting. And the 0% fat label reassures you that you are making a sensible choice. But flavored zero-fat yogurt is almost impossible to make honestly. You have removed the fat, which means no flavor, no texture. You then need to add back both. Real fruit is expensive, and it makes the texture unpredictable. So instead you use fruit flavoring, which is a laboratory creation designed to approximate fruit. Then you need sweetness. Real fruit flavors taste dull without sugar, so you add sweeteners, aspartame or sucralose, which have their own ongoing debate in the nutrition world. Then you need to thicken it because zero-fat yogurt is thin, so you add modified starch or pectin or gelatin. The ingredient list starts to look like a chemistry experiment. And the irony is that a small pot of full-fat natural yogurt with a spoonful of real jam stirred in would almost certainly be better for you. More protein, better bacteria, actual real ingredients, fewer additives, probably more satisfying, which means you eat less overall. The zero-fat obsession that this kind of product exploits is a hangover from 1980s nutrition science that has largely been revised. Fat is not the enemy. Engineered food with artificial sweeteners and stabilizers and modified starch might be. But the 0% fat badge still switches off people's critical thinking, and the manufacturers know it. If you have made it this far, you already know more about what is in your yogurt than most people in Britain. Don't keep that to yourself. Screenshot this, post it, send it to someone in your family WhatsApp group. The more people who know this, the harder it becomes for these companies to keep doing it. Now let's keep going. Number 5. Waitrose Greek-style yogurt with honey. Let us talk about sugar content. Real quickly, Coca-Cola contains around 10.6 grams of sugar per 100 milliliters. This Waitrose product contains 17 grams of sugar per 100 grams. This yogurt has 60% more sugar than Coke, and it is sold in the health food section of one of Britain's most aspirational supermarkets. People buy it for breakfast. They eat it after exercise. They give it to their children as a nutritious snack. The ingredients tell you exactly how this happened. They took a Greek-style yogurt base, added honey, then added brown sugar because apparently honey alone was not sweet enough, then added maize starch to thicken it and give it a more convincing body. The result is a product that packs more sugar into 100 grams than most soft drinks. If you ate the whole 450-gram pot, you would consume over 76 grams of sugar. That is the equivalent of eating 2 full cans of Coca-Cola. Not drinking, eating, in a breakfast yogurt at Waitrose prices. And here is the most telling detail. Waitrose also sells genuinely authentic Greek yogurt made in Greece with real ingredients and proper protein content. It sits near this product on the same shelf. The good version exists. They know how to sell it. But they also sell this because the honey on the label creates a health halo, and the Waitrose branding means most customers never question it. Number 4. The Collective flavored range. The Collective has worked hard to feel like something different. The branding is warm, rustic, a little artisan. The name suggests a group of passionate producers. The copywriting on the pot talks about craft and quality and care. It is exceptionally well-designed packaging, and it does its job perfectly, which is to make you feel like you are buying something special from people who genuinely care, rather than something manufactured by an industrial food operation. Then you check the ingredients on the cherry or passion fruit version. Sugar, fruit puree from concentrate, pectin as a setting agent, natural flavorings, more sugar. The flavored range has the same basic structure as every other flavored yogurt on this list. Real fruit was replaced with concentrate. The texture was engineered with pectin. The sweetness was added because the underlying product is not sweet enough on its own. And the natural flavorings label sounds reassuring, but legally means almost nothing. You can extract natural flavoring from almost any organic source, and the result has no meaningful relationship to the food it claims to represent. The Collective's natural yogurt is actually decent. It is on the good list later, which tells you that the brand knows how to make a clean product. They just choose not apply those same standards to their flavored range because flavored yogurt sells well and the premium packaging justifies a premium price. You are paying for the branding, not the yogurt. Number 3. Tim's dairy-flavored Greek range. This is a small, British, family-owned dairy in the Chilterns, and that story matters to people. It matters because we want to support British farming. We want to believe that a family business is held to a different standard than a faceless corporation. We want buying from Tim's Dairy to mean something, and for their plain products it does. Their natural yogurt is clean and properly made. But the mango and the blackcurrant flavored Greek versions land right in the same territory as everything else on this list. Around 15.5 grams of sugar per 100 grams. Fruit puree from concentrate. Added sugar, thickeners. Being a Chiltern's family business does not automatically make your flavored yogurt clean. What makes your yogurt clean is what you put in it. And if the ingredients list of your flavored product reads the same as a mass-market corporate version, then the brand story is doing work that the yogurt itself cannot do. This is not about attacking small producers. It is about being honest that the metric that matters is not who made it or where. It is what is actually in the pot. Number 2. Sainsbury's lactose-free Greek style. People who are lactose intolerant deal with real, genuine discomfort when they eat dairy. It is not a preference or a trend. It is a physiological reality, and they deserve honest, clean products made for their specific dietary need. This product takes advantage of exactly that need. The lactose-free angle is entirely legitimate. Using the enzyme lactase to break down lactose before fermentation is a real and valid process. There is nothing wrong with that method. But Sainsbury's has then layered on added sugar, used thickeners to create a faux Greek texture without actually straining anything, and is charging for a premium product aimed at a health-conscious, dietary-restricted consumer who is less likely to question something explicitly made for them. People with dietary restrictions often apply more trust to products that appear designed specifically for their needs. The gluten-free aisle does exactly the same thing. The lactose-free label signals that extra care was taken, that someone looked after them. And that instinct is being used to obscure what is actually a heavily engineered product with sugar and starch and a texture that was never earned. If you are lactose intolerant and you want yogurt, you are better off finding a plain, clean lactose-free natural yogurt and adding real fruit yourself at home. Do not let your dietary requirement be used as a reason to accept a product you would reject if you saw those same ingredients on a regular pot. And at number 1, Tesco low-fat natural yogurt. We started the list with Tesco and we end it with Tesco. And that is not a coincidence. It reflects a consistent pattern across their entire own brand yogurt range. If Tesco natural yogurt was an assembled dairy product made from reconstituted powder and added cream, the low-fat version takes that same approach and removes the one thing that was masking some of its problems: the fat, which means the texture has to be engineered back in. The flavor has to be compensated for. The whole product has to be built from even more components: thickeners, stabilizers, modified starch, minimal fermentation time, and almost certainly post-fermentation pasteurization, which kills every live culture in the product before you ever open it. The packaging may say live cultures. Those cultures may have been introduced at some point during production, but pasteurizing after fermentation means that whatever bacteria were alive at that stage are now dead. The business logic here is simple. Tesco is the biggest supermarket chain in Britain. They sell more yogurt than almost anyone. If they can reduce the cost of production by a few pence per unit and maintain the retail price, that difference multiplied by millions of units per week is an enormous amount of money. The customer never sees the cost savings. They see the same price. They see the same packaging. They see the same space in their fridge. And Tesco has been doing this for so long that for many British families, this is simply what yogurt tastes like. That is the part that is hardest to sit with. Now let us turn this around completely, because the good news is that finding genuinely clean yogurt is actually very simple. You do not need a nutrition qualification or a chemistry degree. You just need 30 seconds and a willingness to read the back of the pot. Here is what real yogurt looks like in ingredients. Milk. Live cultures. That is it. Sometimes you will see the specific bacterial strains listed, names like Lactobacillus bulgaricus or Streptococcus thermophilus. That is fine. Those are the organisms that perform the fermentation. The list should essentially end there. If you see water listed separately from milk, something was reconstituted. If you see cream listed alongside milk and cultures, they added it rather than earning the fat content through real fermentation. If you see modified starch, pectin, gelatine, guar gum, locust bean gum, or any other thickener, the texture was built artificially rather than through proper process. If you see sugar, honey, or fruit puree, the flavor was added because the fermentation alone was not sufficient to carry it. Now, there is one thing that trips people up, and it is worth clearing up. Greek yogurt and Greek style are genuinely different things. Since 2014, UK law only allows the name Greek yogurt to be used on products actually made in Greece. Everything else, regardless of how it is made, has to say Greek style, so you will find genuinely clean, properly strained, high-protein yogurts that say Greek style simply because they were made in Somerset rather than Santorini. The way you tell the real ones from the fakes is protein content. Real strained Greek yogurt, wherever it was made, has around 10 grams of protein per 100 grams because the milk has been concentrated by removing the whey. Fake Greek-style yogurt, thickened with starch or cream, usually has around 4 grams because no concentration happens. Flip the pot. Find nutrition. Check the protein. 10 grams means it was actually strained. 4 grams means you are being sold thickness without the substance. Now for the products that are genuinely worth buying. Make your own first, before anything else. Because homemade yogurt fermented for 20 to 30 hours is categorically better than anything you will find in a supermarket. You heat whole milk to around 85 degrees to denature the proteins, cool it back to around 45, stir in a few tablespoons of live yogurt as your starter, and leave it in a warm spot overnight and into the next day. The long fermentation develops complex flavor and allows the bacteria to fully colonize the milk. You end up with more live cultures than any commercial product because you never pasteurize it afterwards. And a good tip, Phage Total makes an excellent starter culture. It has named live strains and nothing else added. If you want to buy rather than make, here is where to put your money. Longley Farm Natural Yogurt from Yorkshire. A small independent dairy that has been making traditional yogurt for decades. Whole milk, live cultures, proper fermentation, no shortcuts. If you can find it, buy it. Lancashire Farm Yogurt. Another small British dairy, making both natural and Greek style using local milk. Started by a farming family who wanted to add value to their own milk rather than selling it to an industrial processor. Clean ingredients, honest products. M&S Collection Authentic Greek Yogurt. M&S proves it can source genuine food when it chooses to. This one is made in Greece, properly strained, 10 grams of protein per 100 grams. It sits on the same shelf as their cornflour thickened honey version. Choose this one. Aldi Brooklia Authentic Greek Yogurt, budget supermarket made in Greece. 10 grams of protein, real strained yogurt, usually one of the cheapest Greek yogurts in any shop. This is what happens when a supermarket decides to compete on actual value rather than faking it with additives. Iceland Greek-style natural yogurt, £1 for 450 grams. The ingredients are yogurt made from milk and live cultures with named bacterial strains. Nothing else. No thickeners, no stabilizers, no cream, no water. Clean yogurt for less money than most of the engineered versions on the avoid list. Waitrose Estate Dairy Greek style. Made in Cheshire on a single estate. Small batches, whole milk and live cultures. No additives and thickeners, not homogenized. This is as close to artisan yogurt as you will find in a mainstream supermarket. Yo Valley Organic Greek Recipe 0% strained. The big organic brand. Properly strained, decent protein even in the zero-fat version. And critically, certified organic, which means Bovaer cannot be used anywhere in the supply chain. If you were concerned about the ALA trials and you want certainty, organic certification is your guarantee. Phage Total 5%, the gold standard, made in Greece since 1926, properly strained using traditional methods. 5 grams of fat, 10 grams of protein, available in virtually every major UK supermarket. More expensive than the budget options, but you are paying for a product that is genuinely what it claims to be. So here is where we end up. The yogurt industry in Britain has spent decades building a layer of noise between you and the truth. Greek style on the label means nothing. Premium branding means nothing. Low fat means nothing. Expensive means nothing. The Waitrose label means nothing. None of those signals reliably tell you whether what is inside the pot is real food. The only thing that tells you is the ingredients. 2 ingredients and you have yogurt. 8 ingredients and you have a product. And the most infuriating part of all this is not that cheap supermarkets are cutting corners. It is that the cutting has become so normalized, so widespread, so baked into consumer expectation that millions of people in Britain genuinely believe this is just what yogurt is. They grew up eating the Tesco version. They feed it to their children. They trust it because it has always been there, and it has never tasted obviously wrong. But now you know what it should taste like. Now you know what the back of the pot should say, and you will not be fooled by the label on the front of it again. Every time you choose the real thing, you are making a statement. Not a grand political one, a quiet, personal one. That you know the difference. That you are not buying the story, you are reading the ingredients. And that over time, when enough people make that same quiet choice, the companies that are still engineering powder and cream and starch and calling it yogurt will have to decide whether they want to keep selling something that an increasingly informed public is choosing to walk past. Read the label, trust what you find there, and buy accordingly. You made it to the end. That already puts you in a different category from most people buying yogurt this week. Now, do one thing. Drop a comment below and tell me which brand surprised you the most from this list. And if you want us to go through another food category next, bread, cereal, protein bars, oat milk, write it down. We read every single one. Subscribe so you do not miss what we find next.